What is going on, everyone? It's Sean O'Connell, the managing director here at CinemaBlend, and we're plunging back into our recap to Season 1 of Westworld. Now, we're building up to Season 3, which hopefully we're going to be able to watch live together once it hits HBO. Now, for people who don't quite know what's going on, I've never seen Westworld. I'm moderately familiar with what it is, although now that I've seen 2 episodes of it, I realized that I was pretty far off. I didn't realize it was a Michael Crichton film. I didn't understand that it was almost like a Jurassic World-esque thing where there's a park that people can go visit and the things could potentially go horribly wrong. But I'm incredibly intrigued by a number of the plot threads that they've laid out in the first 2 episodes, and most of the characters that they've introduced. I really want to see where we're going with them. So we are up to episode 3 of Season 1. This one is called The Stray. I'm going to press play on that episode, dive into it, react to it. You guys can watch me react to what I'm learning in Westworld as we go. So while I press play, you're going to go down, hit subscribe, turn on your notifications, and that way every single time that we drop a new video onto CinemaBlend's YouTube page, you guys will hear about it. You'll come watch it with it together. We'll interact in the comments. We'll have a good time.
I used to read this story to my son at night.
Interesting.
Your son, where is he now?
Nowhere that you would understand, Dolores. Why did you ask me about my son?
We've been talking for some duration, and I haven't asked you a personal question. Personal questions are an ingratiating scheme. Was I the same when I got up this morning? I almost think I can remember feeling a little different. But if I'm not the same, the next question is, who in the world am I?
Good analogy. Good parallel. Her new dad. Replacement dad. The cinematography in this show is gorgeous. It's the one she found buried last episode.
Do you remember?
Oh. What? Do something. Do something, dude. Be a hero. William the hero.
You popped your cherry.
Thought you said we couldn't get shot.
We can't get killed. Let's go put some memories in that spank bank.
Actually, I have something different. I want a little adventure.
As of this morning, Ford's carved out a huge swath of the park for whatever storyline he's cooking up and thrown half of the existing storylines into disarray.
I'm very intrigued by Ford's new storyline.
I can't hear you.
Do you see that? He carries on practically an entire conversation.
I need more milk, Arnold.
Who's Arnold? He kills 6 hosts. All 6 of these hosts were part of storylines over the years in which they killed Walter.
It's an interesting wrinkle.
It's a stray. QA needs a tag team to go track it.
Go. Handle the stray.
Managing the park is exhausting. It's almost not worth it.
All right, which of you derelicts hitched a dead body outside my saloon?
My apologies, ma'am, for your troubles.
Oh, interesting.
You know, if I could stay right here with you, I would.
What if I don't want to stay here?
You know, there is a place I heard about down south where the mountains meet the sea.
I'd like to go there with you.
Well, someday I'll take you.
Someday sounds a lot like the thing people say when they actually mean never. Let's go now.
It's kind of interesting that the hosts play out a storyline whether there are newcomer guests with them or not.
You've died at least 1,000 times, and yet it hasn't dulled your courage.
There's a girl, Dolores. Someday soon, we'll have the life we've both been dreaming of.
No, you never will. Perhaps it is time you had a worthy story of origin. A small part of my new narrative with a villain called Wyatt. Do you remember now, Teddy?
Yeah, of course I remember Wyatt. You look upon the face of true evil, you ain't liable to forget.
A friend here is new to town. Figured the rancher's daughter would be a nice way to kick things off.
The park brings out truly the worst in people. Real scumbags who pay to have a free place to be scumbags. That is the first time it looks like they shot against a fake background. Is that a reshoot done in a studio somewhere? The lighting looks wrong. The backdrop looks phony.
Some hands were meant to pull a trigger. Perhaps it's for the best.
I think this is a big one.
Man in question gunned down an entire settlement out near Flat Rock. Man named Wyatt.
Hey.
You know, if I could stay right here with you, I would.
And do it. It's not looking good, but he'll be back the next day when the whole thing resets. Like a Groundhog Day.
Host who went missing is the woodcutter. Looks like the rest of them got stuck here waiting for supper.
You guys can't program more than one of these idiots to make a fire?
Only one of them is authorized to handle the axe.
Looks like Australia has a hobby. Another one of your fucking backstories.
Wyatt disappeared while out on maneuvers. He came back with some strange ideas. He claimed this land didn't belong to the old natives or the new settlers. That it belonged to something that had yet to come. That it belonged to him.
Yeah, it's the flies more than anything.
Take cover!
You coming?
I'm not backing out now.
You wait till I lead him to the tree line.
Brave lady.
You may run for it.
Markings on its shell. Look like stars.
Yeah.
Orion, right?
It's astrology.
What are you, Gallifucking-Leo?
Maybe it's in my backstory.
Why is this host covered? You wanted to cover his modesty. Was that it? Doesn't get cold. Doesn't feel ashamed. Doesn't feel a solitary thing that we haven't told it to.
It's a great part for Hopkins.
Abernathy and Walter were exhibiting other aberrancies beyond memory recall of previous builds. They were talking to the same imaginary person, someone named Arnold. With due respect, sir, I'm not sure you've told me the entire truth about this situation.
Well, I did tell you the truth, Bernard. What we do here is complicated. For 3 years, we lived here in the park, refining the host. Myself, a team of engineers, and my partner.
You had a partner?
Yeah. When the legend becomes fact, you print the legend. His name was Arnold. He wanted to create consciousness.
The idea that primitive man believed his thoughts to be the voice of the gods. I thought it was debunked.
No, it's a theory for understanding the human mind, perhaps, but not as a blueprint for building an artificial one. Arnold built a version of their cognition in which the hosts heard their programming as an inner monologue, with the hopes that in time their own voice would take over.
Some of them are remembering, accessing fragments of Arnold's code. What happened to him?
Well, he died. Here in the park. We called it an accident, but I knew Arnold. He was very, very careful. Just don't forget, the hosts are not real. You mustn't make Arnold's mistake.
Why would I?
Well, forgive me, but I know that the death of your son, Charlie, still weighs heavily on you.
It doesn't make sense. He wasn't programmed to give a shit about stars.
Over here!
Wise men could be anywhere.
The hell is he
See or
doing?
hear anything, don't hesitate.
Oh, look out. Shoot, 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 shoot!
We found a stray up here, but I don't think it got here by accident.
I need your help, Dolores. I need to decide what to do with you. I think I made a mistake. It would be better if I restored you to the way you were before. Imagine there are two versions of yourself. One that feels these things and asks these questions, and one that's safe.
There aren't two versions of me. There's only one. And I think when I discover who I am, I'll be free.
Analysis. What prompted that response?
You asking her questions.
And you won't tell anyone about our conversations.
No.
And you'll stay on your loop.
Yes.
Good. You should be getting back to
I
Dolores.
think he's doing far more damage than he realizes. I'm beginning to think that Bernard is the problem here. Oh, interesting. Now she's going without Teddy. How will that change things?
I'm gonna protect you now.
Oh.
No one here to interrupt us this time.
Use it.
Why don't we reacquaint ourselves, Dolores?
Mama.
Oh.
Hey! Get back here. Hey! Get back here.
What the heck? The simulation is off.
Well, we just need his head when we're done here.
Stop!
Oh! What? What?
Did you hear that?
Okay, episode 3. We have reached the stage of the season where we're starting to get more questions than answers, which is fine. I mean, that's okay for a show like Westworld. It's a very dense mythology, and in an episode that was all about giving the hosts backstory, and certain hosts not having backstory, and Dr. Ford deciding he's going to introduce some backstory for some other characters, people like Teddy, we get really crucial backstory about the park and the creation of the park and Ford's relationship with someone named Arnold. So this whole episode was about filling in the cracks and crevices of the narrative, which is good. I mean, you need an episode like this to sort of fill in what we're learning about the park. But over the course of that, things happen that are really puzzling, and we have to sort of put pushpins in them until they get answered later on. We're learning about different ways that the hosts are changing and evolving. We've dealt with the fact that over the past couple of episodes, they've had memories to things that have happened to them in times that we haven't seen before, and to things that have happened to them in events that we've witnessed. For instance, Maeve remembering that she kind of got out of the park and possibly saw Teddy somewhere else, which is borderline fascinating because she's supposed to have her memory wiped and she shouldn't have any kind of recollection of that. The idea that the hosts are also coming up with their own thought, like the Stray, who decides he's going to follow the stars on a mission to God knows where, to eventually take a giant boulder and crush his own head with it. But the point that the hosts are having their own independent thought is fascinating to me, until you realize that Bernard is filling their heads with philosophical discussion. And it makes me wonder, and maybe I'm reading too far into this and going too deep into it, but it makes me wonder if Bernard is causing some of these problems as he's investigating what the root of the hallucinations could potentially be in the hosts. It makes me wonder how much he's planting the seed, and by asking questions of people like Dolores and making them wonder what role that they serve, what more there is out there, like what else, asking Dolores if there's multiple versions of herself, and she says she has to just discover what the true self of it is. So we learned a lot. Here Hopkins is continuing to play God, Dr. Ford continuing to play God by rewriting a chunk of the narrative, and I think one of the big mysteries of this season so far, one of the ones that I'm most intrigued by, because a lot of it is just Groundhog Day type repeat, and we start to see how the smaller details, which again, Ford said that's part of the reason why people keep coming back to the park, how they change from day to day, and you get, it's like a choose your own adventure book, right? Like you can pick A or you can pick B, and the story changes the way that you decide to choose for that particular day. And so you see little subtle differences that people like James Marsden, makes, or even William, this new character, the newcomer who's coming in, he decides he wants to become a bounty hunter, and that changes the narrative. But Ford also writes in a big backstory for a new character named Wyatt, who is connected to Teddy, and we'll start to see how that plays out in future episodes. So it's a lot to absorb. It's an awful lot to absorb in The Stray, and it feels more and more just like, maintaining the park is exhausting. And there's more opportunity for things to go horribly wrong than there is for it to work well. And when we learn about the backstory of Arnold, you learn that he actually sacrificed himself to make the park work, or at least to achieve some of the things that he thought that the park could achieve, even though maybe he was short-sighted in his approach to it. The parallel that we got earlier in the episode about Alice through the looking glass, or Alice in Wonderland, was a nice way to frame around Dolores, because she is the one that we keep coming back to. She's trying to find her way through this bizarre world and maybe get out. Maybe get out. I don't know. That would be a fascinating way to take that story too. And then I learned that it costs $40,000 a day to be in Westworld, because I was curious about that. I don't know yet what year the outside story takes place. I'm fascinated to find out if we know that. But $40,000 a day to spend in Westworld, my God. Yeah, that's a playground for the rich. So that was episode 3, The Stray. We will be moving on to episode 4 shortly, so make sure you keep it right here on CinemaBlend's YouTube page. You can do that by hitting subscribe and turning on your notifications so that you get an alert every time we post a new video. I also want to hear from you guys about what you're thinking about the reaction series so far. There's a lot to process. I'm trying to react to everything as it goes, but the episodes are dense with what I think are very important conversations, and I'm trying not to talk over a lot of what's being said, because I am trying to sort of process everything that's going on. It's not one of these action-heavy shows, although there is action and there's things that sort of propel the narrative forward. But they are heavy, intelligent, weighty conversations that are filling in what's happening in both the park and in the lives of the people who are running the park. So I'm trying to process all of that as we go. Hopefully you guys think I'm doing okay. Hopefully you're enjoying the reaction series. We'll be back with episode 4 very soon for season 1. Remember, we're working our way through seasons 1 and 2 so that we can watch season 3 together. So hit that notifications button after you hit subscribe, and we'll see you back here for the next episode of the Westworld season 1 reaction series.